Good evening, all of you. Myself, Professor Archana Budruk Aute. I heartily welcome today's eminent speaker, Dr. Sanjay Talbar sir, all the directors of JSPM, campus director of BIT, principal, vice principal sir of BIT, and all the faculties and research students for this 1 week FDP. It gives me a great pleasure to introduce my institute to all of you. Shri Bhagwant Education and Charitable Research Charitable Trusts, Bhagwant Institute of Technology Barshi, which is established in 2011 and handed over to JSPM Group of Institutes Pune in 2014 under the dynamic leadership of Honorable Dr. T.J. Sawant sir and Honorable Shivaji Sawant sir, who are having very broad vision in the excellence of technical education. JSPM has total 84 institutes, among them 8 are engineering colleges, 7 are located at Pune and 1 is at Barshi. Vision of our chairman sir is to impact best technical education at rural area with minimum expenditure and affordable by the students located at the rural area. We provide the best technical education in a good environment with discipline, institute having transport facility, separate girls and boys hostel, RO water, Wi-Fi facility for students in campus as well as the hostel, lavish landscaping area, and to maintain discipline and security, the whole campus is under CCTV surveillance. The exchange of technical knowledge with our parent institute is carried out through video conferencing room where students can interact two-way communication. We have 4 courses for degree course, that is mechanical, civil, CSE and ENTC. Its intake is of 300 students. We are having 3 courses in diploma, that is mechanical engineering, civil engineering and electronics and telecommunication with intake 180 students. The quality of our education has given the feedback by getting the first rank in the Solapur University in 2017 for mechanical branch. We are ahead in placement also. Our 170 students are selected in different companies in the last year and most are expected in coming year. Here, I proudly note that we got accreditation by NAC with B+ in 2019 and we are on the track of MBA. All the faculties are taking hard efforts to reach our goal of excellence in academic under the guidance of campus director and principal sir. Due to that, we can achieve many more Luran to institute in coming future. Today, we are organizing an interdisciplinary FDP for 1 week on the topic recent trends in technology, delivering by the eminent speakers and with the inspiration of our principal. So this is all about my institute. Thank you very much for being with us. Now I request Dr. N.G. Narve sir to give few words about FDP. Dr. Narve sir, Vice Principal of BIT.
Good evening to one and all. I welcome warmly and heartily to all honorable directors, dignitaries, learned pupils, principals, academicians. Can you hear me, madam?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Academicians, faculty participants, and research scholars. In this 1 week faculty development program, that is recent trends in technology, which is starting from today, that is 7 June. I welcome you on behalf of Institute and the management. Today, we are in the 21st century and during so many years, many aspects of the lives are changed and we need to adopt new things while moving ahead. The objective of the FDP is to introduce the participants to the world of recent technologies and give an insight into how and where it can be used. This FTB will be an eye-opening session for the beginners and all the participants. It is necessary to make teachers of the engineering colleges, universities, and the industry pupils aware of the opportunities and the challenges in this field. This FDP will make aware of the importance of the new technology over the traditional one. We all know that the technology is changing very rapidly. In the IT field, you can see that some of the advantages we are named to, that is artificial intelligence and machine learning, IoT, quantum computing, edge computing, etc. Similarly, in the electronic field, the some mentions are medical IoT, virtual reality in manufacturing, robotics, automation, 5G, etc. In mechanical field, we are near the additive manufacturing, green technology, biomedical engineering, hyperloop technology, autonomous vehicles, and industry 5, etc. Similarly, in the civil, also we do have the precasting structures, the use of the robotics in the precast constructions, GPS technology in the surveying, ready-made houses, like all this. You all will get overwhelmed by the presentation of the learned academicians in the coming days. I like to congratulate Deshmane sir for convening such a nice FDP to all the faculties. It is really a treat to all we pupils that we are going to listen a lot new things, new technologies from the learned pupils in the coming 7 days. Lastly, again, I welcome you all and a best of luck. Thank you. Thank you very much, madam.
Thank you, sir. Now I request to Dr. A.K. Deshmane, sir, Principal of BIT, to give the introductory speech of this FDP.
Good evening to one and all. Myself, Dr. Anil Kisan Rao Deshmane, the Principal of BIT Engineering College, Barshi. I welcome you all, especially the Director, Ravi Joshi sir, Bosle sir, Barbole sir, our Campus Director, Rutra Sawant sir, Fadkule ma'am, and all the dignitaries. Especially, I welcome to the speaker, Dr. S.N. Talbar sir, for giving such a valuable time for our FDP. Really, I'm very pleased to see whenever I've been talk with the eminent personalities like Talbar sir, Waliwadekar sir, Tatid sir, then Devsarkar sir, Bakwad sir, and Bal Subramanyam and Mahale sir, really they have been given the consent within 1 second. I would like to have this particular FDP to add some information and the knowledge to all the faculties. As the topic itself, it is interdisciplinary. I would like to make the knowledge to share the knowledge to all the field teaching faculties. Definitely, the name itself has got very much importance in the image processing and the signal processing. But today, the Talbar sir has taken the topic for future scaling, where second day, the speaker, Waliwadekar sir, will talk on the renewable energy like the solar energy. Third day, Dr. R.G. Tatid sir, he will talk on the efficient teaching. Then in the national education policy by Dr. Devsarkar, IoT by Dr. K.M. Bakwad, and artificial intelligence and machine learning by Dr. Parishit Mahale. And last day, we'll have the enjoyment with the how to go for the research and what is the importance of research in the engineering field by Dr. R. Balsubramaniam, who is in the BARC, Mumbai. So really, these eminent personality today itself, they will be giving a bunch of information and the knowledge to all the faculties, and the faculties will adopt this particular knowledge in teaching, academics, and their curriculum. Our chairman, sir, definitely, he is putting a lot many milestones for us, as he is not only dynamic in academic, he is always, he is again having leadership in social activities. Being this institute has been given for COVID center for thousands of patients from month of May, and 420 patients have been recovered, and still we have 270 patients in our campus. Really, this particular facility is given with no cost. Everything we have been providing from our institute. This particular milestone makes a very much change in our mindset and we'll be trying to put footstep to our president by conducting such FDPs. So really, this particular FDP matters, and it will give a much of information to all the faculties, and the faculties will enjoy this particular FDP, 7 days FDP. So definitely, once again, I should thanks to Dr. Talbar sir, being he is my guide for PhD, and it makes me that whenever I used to go for any of the interview, the name itself, the guide name itself, it never allow me to give any questions or the answer to any of the committees. This makes a lot, and definitely the audience or the faculties are very lucky to have Dr. Talbar sir today with us. So I once again thanks to all the directors and Talbar sir. So I request Dr. Joshi sir to put some few words about the FDP. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Now I request Dr. Ravi Joshi, sir, to give few words about this FDP, the director of JSPM.
Good evening to one and all. Dr. Talbar sir, the chief speaker of today's FDP, Deshmane sir, Narve sir, and respected on behalf of Dr. Tanaji Rao Sawant sir, Shivaji Rao Sawant sir, and your campus director, Ruturaj Sawant sir. Rather, it is a nice opportunity for me to interact with you all on this occasion. Probably this is the first time I am interacting with you, apart from, I think, when you went through the NAC inspection, I was there for a day or two. So I met some of your faculty, I interacted with them, but I rarely get a chance to talk to them. But today, it is a nice thing to be amongst you all speaking a few words. Yesterday, Deshmane sir asked me, sir, will you be talk for 2 minutes? I said, I'll be happy to do that. So, and I'm here talking to you all. So when I listed the topics which were listed for the FDP, what is FDP? Nothing but as you all know, it's a faculty development program. So only thing is at the end of it, in what sense, what are the deliverables one should achieve? It is, yes, they're all eminent speakers who are delivering their knowledge to you, their skills to you, how to go about it, but it is the onus is on the participants to absorb what is being given. If that is not there, then of course this FDP will be of just an exercise, but it doesn't deliver any results. So the onus is on you all, on all the faculty all together to listen to them carefully, to understand what they are trying to say and how they have managed. And incidentally, of course, Deshmane sir has lined up a list of galaxies, eminent speakers, today being Talbar sir. In fact, he himself is an excellent teacher, our best teacher award winner, and he's been an innumerable times he has won the best paper award. So he's an academician as well as an administrator. So we can see the future, we can see the vision. So, and rightly, he will be talking today about the future skilling, what skills you are required in the times to come. And suddenly we have hit a roadblock, like a pandemic has affected us all physically, mentally, psychologically. So we are fighting through this to come out of this. So with the guidance of such eminent people, having the vision, so what they say, we try to follow them and try to come out of this pandemic with a successful ratio. I give an example. In fact, to this last 1 year, in fact, we've received more than 5-6 people I observed. They came to me. So when they joined JSPM, they were just a faculty. So this 1 year of pandemic, as I said, it is provided difficult times to everybody, but some people have made use of this time working at home. They worked on their skills, they developed new skills, and already they are applied for a job and they've got a better and a higher level jobs than what they were doing. So that means they have upscaled themselves in life also. So therefore, this is the best time to go through these webinars, understand what they are trying to tell, and incorporate that in our own life. So of course, if you want to develop a skill, what is the most important thing to develop a skill? One is knowledge, one which is being delivered. And the second most thing important is the habit which you cultivate to absorb that skill. If you don't have the habit of listening to the lecture carefully, of course, you will never be able to benefit by the lecture. If you don't have the habit of working continuously on a project, you will never be benefited by the knowledge which is provided by the either websites or by the books. Therefore, to have that knowledge, to absorb the knowledge, you must prepare yourself, and only habits can give you a better results than doing this. Therefore, cultivate good habits, whether it is getting up early, whether it is doing a focused study for 2-3 hours. So what are you currently, what is your current position, and where you want to go using these habits and the knowledge and the skills which you are going to be provided with the experts. Therefore, focus on this FDP with all your concentration. Try to absorb what is being told or it is being promoted in the FDP, so that it will be definitely beneficial to all of us as a faculty members. The word itself is said focus. Many of us, we lack. What many of us, is 80% of us, we lack focus, and we do this as just a job to be done. But if you want to have a changed results, you must be able to change yourself, and that you can do it only when you focus properly. So focus, as the name says, F stands for following, O stands for one, C stands for course, U stands for until, S stands for successful. Follow one course until you are successful. You bear that in mind and decide something that, yes, I want to be successful in this particular aspect, and you work towards that. Why not dream that you want to be a best teacher? How many of us dream that? We imagine ourselves, but have you worked towards that? So develop good habits to work towards and becoming a best teacher. And today, the best teacher is addressing you. 1.5 years, listen to him carefully. Definitely, you will benefit in life through this as well as the work. Thank you very much for being here. So I thank you, Deshmane sir and Narve sir, for calling me for this particular organization.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Joshi sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir, for your guidance, motivational words, and supports. Now, it is an announcement that all the participants are hereby announced that it is compulsory to fill the attendance form as well as the feedback form. The link will be provided in our chat box. Now it is the time to introduce today's our eminent guest, Dr. S.N. Talbar sir, whose topic is future skilling. He's completed his BE, ME, and PhD in electronics and computer engineering from SGS and SRTM University in 2000. He is working as a professor in the Department of Electronics and Telecommunication at SGGS Institute of Engineering and Technology, Nanded since 2001. He worked as a professor and head of the department at Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Technical University, Lonere from 2002 to 2004. He has 32 years teaching experience. His prominent work gives him reward in the form of awards. He was awarded as Young Scientist Award by URSI Italy in 2003 and Best Teacher Award from SRTM University Nanded in 2018. He supervised 24 students of PhD and 90 plus students for ME and MTech. He published 10 books and 220 papers in reputed journals and conferences. He received funding for different research projects from AICT, MIET, Government of India, and Government of Maharashtra. He conducted 10 plus STTP programs sponsored by AICT. He is working as co-principal investigator for the Center of Excellence in Signal and Image Processing established at SGGS Nanded. He visited various international universities like Kraft University, Wales, UK, UTP Malaysia, as well as USA for International Conference RSNA at Chicago, USA. He is selected for a prestigious program of Government of India Leadership for Academic Program at Ohio State University, Columbus, USA. He worked as a member of Executive Council and academic counseling of D. Batu Lonere. He was also worked as a chairman of Board of Studies and member of RRC for many of universities like Mumbai University, Pune University, Solapur, Shivaji University, and Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Marathwada University. He shouldered various responsibilities as head, registrar, dean of planning, and dean of students affairs at SGGS Nanded. He is member of various professional bodies like IEEE, fellow of IETE, LMISTE. His research interested area is image processing, computer vision, medical image analysis, deep learning, and embedded system design. So here I am very proud to present today's eminent speaker, Dr. S.N. Talbar sir. Now I requested today's speaker, Dr. S.N. Talbar sir, to continue his session.
Thank you. Thank you, madam. Thank you, Professor Archana. Should I share my screen now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please.
Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, good evening, one and all. Today's dignitaries, Dr. Joshi, learned Professor Joshi, Dr. Deshmane, Dr. Narve, and the coordinator, Professor Archana Aute, madam. It's my pleasure to open the discussion with all of you on today's topic. Today's topic is the future skilling. As Professor Joshi rightly mentioned, it is very important to skill, reskill, and upskill ourselves. And this is basically a continuous process. Before I forget, I would like to thank Dr. Anil Deshmane, Principal, Bhagwant Institute of Technology, Barsi, for inviting me and given opportunity to share my experience or thoughts about this topic. I would like to extend my gratitude to entire administration of the JSPM group of institutes for this invitation and supporting this novel activity. I take this opportunity to congratulate Sri Sawant Saheb, our ex-education minister, Government of Maharashtra, and chairman, JSPM group of institutes, for starting a COVID-19 health camp at Barsi and helping poor and needy people to recover from the COVID-19 situation. I know all of us have gone through this tragic situation of COVID-19. Every one of us has suffered because of this pandemic situation, directly or indirectly. And I hope some of you might have vaccinated or in the process of vaccination and trying to safeguard yourself and your family. I welcome the questions from all of you. I don't know whether I will be able to give the answer of all questions, but I will try to satisfy all of you. Today, I will be talking about a future skilling. And the agenda for the future skilling is, what do you mean by future skilling? What is the need of a future skilling? Is there any systematic study of these skills which are required? And what do you mean by digital decoding or digital technologies? How do you decode digital technologies? And who will provide these skills. So this is a short agenda. Let us see how we can go through this one. The pandemic situation has posed many challenges and given a new opportunities to all of us. We are adjusting with new normal of the life with the help of new technologies and conducting online classes and activities. Right from the KG to the post graduation, everybody has been switched. Entire teaching community has been switched to the digital. All activities are being carried on the online activities are being carried out. The use of technology and getting new technologies evolving around is a continuous process, and the development of the technology has got the maximum speed, and we have to be in pace with this speed to get training of a superior younger generation, which happens to be our responsibility. Now, what is the Skill India program? The National Skill Development Mission focuses on various basic level skills rather than high order skills. Skilling India is essentially about improving productivity at the workplace. We need to send out a direct message that the opportunity to improve and excel is always available. And in order to improve average skill set, we need to pay more attention to energizing our institutes of higher education. And the only way forward possible is by generalizing the learning. The generalizing learning plays an important role. So what do we mean by generalizing of the learning? India is consistently over-invested in the institutes like IITs and IIMs, which are the institutes of national importance. No one doubts about the value of these institutes, but surely after more than 70 years of continuous financial supports, they should have had enough material achievements to be able to stand on their own feet. However, societies shows healthy and equitable economic growth only when average skill levels increase. For example, now during this pandemic situation, the wealth of Baiju Ravindran, who is the owner of the Baiju class or Baiju classes, an educational technology venture, increases by more than 100% during this pandemic situation. That is from 1 billion to more than 2.5 billion. These are the little bit older numbers. Corrected numbers might have been increased this one. Now, who was the Ravindran? Ravindran studied in a Malayalam medium school and graduated from the Government Engineering College, Kannur. He refused even join to IIM, and he is the only one man, better known wealth creator, who never attended any elite institute. What I mean to say that means the person who is coming from a small village and with an average background, if he is creating the wealth, then why not we? If only India were to work towards a generalization of learning and upgrade education in general, that would be the real key to improve the 5 trillion economy. The skill landscape of the world is changing rather fast, and several surveys says that nearly half the people in the market today will become unemployable. They will become obsolete if they do not upgrade their abilities. It is by upgrading the generality of education, by investing heavily in newer skills like artificial intelligence and data analytics, that we can vastly upgrade the skills of Indians in sunrise sector of the future. To achieve this kind of upgrade requires very substantial investment, often beyond the reach of the average student. The course fee is the only one of the obstacle in the way of the poor students. An engineering course with a specialization in AI, which is what many engineering colleges are doing, and can create an elite cadre. Such a plan cannot reskill all the students, even though the skills will be needed by all of them, irrespective of the job that they join. So National Skill Development Mission focuses only on very basic level of the skills rather than such higher order skills. And Skilling India is far more than merely teaching students how to become a better electrician or fitter or carpenter or nurser like this. Skilling India is essentially about improving the productivity at the workplace. Learning is a continuous process and it does not end with the student host. So for inculcating higher order skills and to improve the average skill sets, we need to pay more attention to energizing our institutes of higher education. Now, if we look at the ecosystem of our higher education system, student is considered at the center. Student is a learner and teacher is a teaching. And there is a very, very strong bond between student and teacher. No doubt, all this is happening in the institutes and there are regulatory systems available like UGC or universities or DTA and all these things. As we are associated with the students, we are definitely associated with the parents, because parents are very much careful about their kids. And in general, we are associated, means this education system, ecosystem is associated with the society. We are producing the students which will be acquired or which will be absorbed by the industry. Now, whatever output we are getting, near about 80 to 90% students are placed in the form of jobs in various industries. 10 to 15% are going for higher education, and 1 or 2% are basically starting their entrepreneurship. And we are taking a help from the industry so as to improve our syllabus, because our product is supposed to be absorbed by the industry. So we are also looking toward the industry. We are taking a feedback from the industries. We are sending our students in the industry for the internships, for the doing projects. Even teachers are also doing training in the industries, and we are getting a lot of information from the industries, and we are modifying our we are modifying our syllabus in such a fashion that it will be useful to the industries. So we have a lot of partnership with the industries. Partnership between engineering institute and industries have played substantial role in building strong technology ecosystem in many countries. Stanford is one of such example, who is considered as a backbone for the Silicon Valley. And Silicon Valley, where all these Google, Facebook, and all the newer technologies are taking birth. Now, as I'm talking about the industry, in industry also there is what you can say, a firm which is called as a NASSCOM. So NASSCOM is a National Association of Software and Service Company. This is something similar to a Chamber of Commerce. This is a non-profit industry association for the information technology and business process management sector. This is a premier trade body and the Chamber of Commerce for the technology industry in India. It comprises about 3,000 member companies, including Indian and multinational organizations, which has their presence in India. And membership of this NASSCOM spans from startups to multinational, and from the product to services and global services to engineering. This NASSCOM has formed on a group before 2-3 years, and they have studied what kind of the skills are required and what kind of the future skills is coming into the picture. So they received last year they received a report in February 2020. This report is published, and the report objective is broad objective was to paint the picture of the digital talent landscape in the India. What kind of a digital talent required, what is available, and what is need to be done. And the objectives were something like to understand what digital means for the different organization and present most commonly held definitions, to present digital skill talent gap. Is there any gap available, and what is that gap available, and the ways being it addressed, and highlights some best practices to present digital skill landscape in terms of the technology and the skills required to stay relevant in the digital age, and to understand how organizations are using multiple strategies and learning channels to build the future ready workforce. So all these were the objectives of that report, and the methodology used, that the team basically has done consultation with the industry experts, specifically from the board of governors. They have already talked about a 50 in-depth interaction with the 50 plus subject matter experts from the technology industries, which includes the human resource officers, learning and development leaders, talent acquisition heads, founders of the startups, and subject matters experts with similar profile. They also have done online survey of approximately 50 organizations to gather the quantitative insights. And they also discussed about the subject matter experts from the academia who provides the online courses of the MOOCs. And they come up with this report. Now, what do you mean by decoding the digital? In today's digital age, technology is used a strong lever for the business growth. Organizations use digital technologies to revamp business processes, optimize the resources, and enable the data-driven decision making. For some leaders, digital is the new way of engaging with the clients, either through the AI-driven sales or AI-driven sales tools or data-driven solutions. AI has changed customer experience. Data is being gathered at every point of interaction between the man, and a machine becomes more intelligent with underlying technology, and the people are working with the machines in different ways, and the way of doing the task is changing very, very fastly. Now, what kind of the talent is available in India? Talent required for this change, how much talent is available in this India? The Indian IT and ITS industries is undergoing a paradigmic shift during the advent of the digital technology. A shift is touching all aspects of business, including the talent. The demand for the talent is determined by mapping digital skill sets with evolving business needs. According to NASSCOM's demand supply analysis, existing talent base of digital skills professional in India in the emerging technologies stood at 6,80,000 in financial year 2019, and it is expected to reach at 8,84,000 in financial year 2020. Say this, I have tried to put it, how much talent is available in which area. As just rightly mentioned by Professor Narve, that there are newer technologies like AI and big data analysis, IoT, cloud computing, 3D printing, and there are variety of they have estimated basically installed talent in 2019, and total a digitally skilled talent is very, very less, about 640K to 680K. There might be a small overlap on each technologies. So this is the talent deficit, as the proportion of the digitally skilled workforce is limited to 20% of the total workforce employed in the IT and IT-enabled service industries. So according to NASSCOM's demand supply analysis, the installed talent base of the digital skill professional in India across the emerging technologies stood up to the 640 to 680, and the installed base is expected to increase up to 1.4 to 1.7 millions by 2023. If we assume a status quo over the period, and the demand comprising the installed talent and the job opportunities is projected to increase 30% to reach about 2.7 millions by financial year 2023. So this is what I have shown here, how much is present, how much talent is present, and how much is expected in 2023. How many job openings will be there in present situation and in the future situations. Now, and this gap shows that there is a need of upskilling and reskilling. In financial year 2019, about 74 organizations upskilled and reskilled more than 20% of their workforce. Digitally skilling is increasingly becoming core to the organizations with business strategies. About 94% organizations mentioned that digital skill development is a part of overall strategy at various levels. About 89% organizations report digital skill development is a business review meeting quarterly, biannually, and 80% of the organizations have either specific digital skilling policies or extended existing L&D policies to include the digital skills. So World Economic Forum indicates that by 2022, about 54% of the employees would require significant reskilling and upskilling in the near future. This is very, very alarming situation. 54% of the employees in IT and IT-enabled services would require significant reskilling and upskilling. And this is the opportunity for the education institutes. About 35% employees require additional skilling up to the 6 months. 9% will require reskilling up to the 6 to 12 months, and 10% employees will require additional skill training, which is more than 1 year. This is really, really an alarming situation. So I hope you might have understood what do you mean by reskilling. So reskilling refers to building employees' capabilities for the different roles, while upskilling is nothing but to enhance the employee's expertise in the existing job role. So there are some examples I would like to put here, like Gensar. Gensar is one of the software vendor. A big organization has invested heavily towards its digital training academy, and every employee has to go through the 4 levels of mandatory trainings in the areas of artificial intelligence, augmented reality, and machine learning. Infosys has created more than 75 new courses to make the employee future ready. The company has adopted several strategies, including creating a future stack workforce, power programmers, enabling niche design skills and domain skills. Cognizant has reskilled and upskilled its associates through the Cognizant Academy in the area of the data science, design thinking, cybersecurity, gamification, IoT, automation, analytics, cloud technology, AI, and ML. Wipro has also similar done. TCS has started a training for upskilling and reskilling in the AI, ML, and data science. I personally got at least 3 to 4 phone calls from our alumni to whom I have taught for the postgraduate, the neural network course in 98, 99. And they are now saying that, sir, whatever you have told, now people are once again teaching us. And this AI and ML is taking place, and whatever we have done in the 10 years or 15 years back, the same things are being taught in the companies like TCS. The second means upskilling and reskilling and internal training is one of the trait. The another trend nowadays in the companies are acquisition and hiring. This is one of the route to get access to the talent and technology. Acquisition and hiring has been successful way to hire the talent and get access to the technology and domain expertise in the sector. It has emerged as a smart way of enhancing parent organization talent pool and adding skill sets to create a full functional team. The biggest advantage is that this workforce is unlikely to require any training. Means they will not be required any training, because you are acquiring and hiring from the startups. This is a primarily popular when skills in emerging technologies are required, where large organizations usually acquire and hire startup working in those who are working in a niche domains. And technology giants such as Facebook, Twitter, Google are at the forefront in such a talent acquisition. This trend is also catching in nowadays in a Indian ecosystem. If you look some of the example, Swiggy, I hope all of you might be knowing a Swiggy. Swiggy acquired AI startup called as a Kin.io in February 2019 to boost computer vision technology and enhance customer experience. Airtel acquired Atto MEID Services, a Bangalore-based startup which is focused on AI-based solution. As a part of this deal, Atto may join X Labs that builds solution in the area of AI, IoT, augmented reality, and virtual reality. Google acquired Halli Labs in India that work in the area of artificial intelligence and machine learning techniques to offer better solution. As a part of the deal, the startup is providing additional AI and ML technology to the company to upgrade older domain and platform for being better performance. There are so many examples. The Walmart has acquired one company, the Mantra, the fashion e-commerce, they have acquired a AI-based company. Ixigo, one of the leading travel search marketplace, they also acquired the team of the mobile content sharing app called as a Reach. So what I want to tell that this is not happening only in software companies, but the other companies, because Walmart is basically a supply chain, means a big chain in the US, and Mantra is a fashion based companies. Ixigo is basically a travel search company. So all they are acquiring. So this is the second way people are doing. And the third way of doing the thing is in-house development with acquisitions. Means I have personally known, means I have visited many times to Bharat Forge, who is the one of the largest forging company across the world. And they are now leveraging in-house innovation, R&D, and engineering skills in developing and implementing innovation and technology strategies to create new and different products. I personally visited the Bharat Forge, and I am very well associated, and I have seen they have acquired artificial intelligence startups, they have acquired NLP startups, they have started RF technology, they have started embedded systems and IoT started. all technologies which are required for the defense and aerospace companies. They have started either on their own or they have acquired and they are improving their digital talent. There is another third trend for improving the digital talent, that is organizing a technical competition at various levels. It may be organizational level or national level or global level with specific problem. All of you might be knowing Smart India Hackathon, a nationwide initiative taken by the AICT and other private companies, and they provide a problem to the students, a platform to solve some pressing need problems. They provide basically the data, they provide the problem, they provide the what you can say mentoring, they provide everything, and they are trying to solve their problem. And basically they are trying to inculcate a culture of product innovation and mindset of the problem solving. Apart from Smart India Hackathon, there are many hackathons are being conducted at international level. I am from the electronics background, so I know some of the examples, something called as a MICAI's BRAT challenge or ISB challenge, ICCV, ECCV, driving database challenges, CVPR challenges. All these challenges are related to the various fields. It is not one field. It may be for the medical image processing, or it may be the pattern recognition, it may be for artificial intelligence, it may be for the e-vehicles, it may be for the different driving related challenges. They are attracting young talented collaborative team directly and improve the talent pool by the job offering. So all these are the means that we have seen basically three different ways of acquiring or improving the talents. Now, which emerging technologies and technical skills are required and which professional skills are required? See, emerging technologies are something like artificial intelligence, big data analytics, cloud computing, robotics process automation, Internet of Things, cyber security. I have arranged all these technologies based on the demand. The maximum demand is nowadays in AI, followed by the big data analytics, then cloud computing, then robotic process automation, then IoT, cyber security, and like this. The virtual reality and augmented reality is also there, 3D printing. All these skills are required. Apart from the technical skills, you need to know some professional skills. It may be a top professional skill is required is communicating, written and verbal communication, problem solving, digital leadership, project management, design thinking. Design thinking has become nowadays very, very important. Collaboration. You're supposed to learn how to work with the collaboration, product management lifestyle, negotiations and influencing, and the project management. All these are the professional skills required. Now let us just throw some light on what is artificial intelligence. Nowadays, everyone is talking about artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence is nothing but a technique that enables computers to mimic the human behavior. We can also say that it is replicating the human cognition with the computers. Okay, and this is very, very broad area. I will give some examples of artificial intelligence. Like there is a very well-known robot called as a Sophia, known for the human-like appearance, who can walk, talk, and emote, too, developed by Hanson Robotics, Hong Kong. There is another popular similar robot is Ashimo, who can run, walk on uneven slopes and surfaces, turn smoothly, climb stairs, reach for and grasp objects Asimo can also comprehend and respond to the simple voice commands. And apart from that, there is a Netflix, Google Maps, Fitbits, chatbots. There are so many other examples are there. So all these are basically, this is a very, very large area. Now, in this large area, there is another area called as the machine learning. So the machine learning is ability to learn without explicitly being programmed, or it is enabling the machines to learn from the data. Now, machines can be a computers, machines can be a bigger systems. It can be a mechanical system in which computer is embedded in it. It is something like e-vehicles. I will come to that one. And the last technology, which is also a subpart in the machine learning, which is also a subpart of the artificial intelligence, that is nothing but a deep learning. The deep learning extracts the patterns from the data using the neural network. So deep learning is a part of basically advanced neural networks, you can say. Now, for what purpose they are being used? They are not only used in image processing. They are used in a natural language processing. They are used in every walk of the life. Here, people are trying to enabling the machines to get into the finer details about unstructured data. So in general, all these areas are nothing but training the computers to replicate. I should not say it is a computer, training the machines, because machine may include a computer. So training the machines to replicate the neural network of the human. There are other applications, like there is an application called as a Siri. The Siri is a voice-driven artificial intelligence system created by the Apple with DARPA funds and integrated into the company's newest iPhone called as a 4S by Apple. Siri is aware of the location and can remind you the things of particular places. Siri can call cabs automatically. You need not tell. Siri can call cabs for you and bring up the restaurants. Siri can take the dictations for emails and text. You can communicate with the Siri with your voice. Nothing more. Apple combined the new type of the information bot with this old type of the human helper bot, the secretary and the assistants. So there are so many examples, as I have told you, in the machine learning, like the face recognition, surveillance systems automatically. Nowadays, surveillance systems are there, but automatically monitoring through the surveillance systems and alarming. Generating alarm is intelligence. Predictive policing, political campaigning, optical character recognition. All your checks are nowadays not entered by the hand. It is automatically processed. This recommendation engines used by the Amazon and Netflix and SoundCloud. All of you might have those who are using the Netflix and Amazon, they are automatically, depending upon earlier search, they suggest you something new. So a personal assistants like a Google Now, or Microsoft Corner, or Apple Siri, just I discussed, and the Google Ads, advertising and business intelligence. And very important or path-breaking things is happening is autonomous driving or self-driving. This is also called as a ADAS, Advanced Driver Assistance Systems, which is being used in the existing cars as well as it is used in autonomous. And a lot of research I have seen. I mean, every company who is in the design of the automobile, they have started the wings in research in the e-vehicle. Okay. Now, why these technologies are taking place, are capturing in these days? There are three important things which are available easily. One is the data. Huge amount of data is available and people are there. You might have heard about every day there is something is coming in the news about how some companies are capturing your data. Data may be the audio, data may be the video, data may be the images, data may be the any other kind of the data. Everybody is nowadays means tracing for the data. Everybody is worrying about the data. Everybody is trying to collect the data because data will be considered as a strongest point in the future. Second important thing is because of the research in microelectronics or in general in electronics or embedded systems, a very faster computers called as GPUs and TPUs are available at very low cost, and newer algorithms and newer programming languages are also available. And because of three, all these things are becoming possible very easily. So the components of artificial intelligence is nothing but the database. Another is a programming language, and third one is the data visualization or data modeling. And the programming languages which are used are nothing but Python, R, Java, Julia, Lisp, and there are so many others there. Okay, so I will skip all this. There are few processes, there are few technologies which are driven by the processes and which are driven by the data. So the data-driven technologies are nothing but machine learning and artificial intelligence, while the process-driven are nothing but a robotic desktop automation and robotic process automation. Okay. So virtual reality is an augmented reality is another such technology. Virtual reality is the computer-generated simulation of which will provide alternate world or reality, and is primarily used in 3D movies and video games. While the augmented reality combines the physical world with the computer-generated augmented reality, means virtual elements. Means if I am talking to you right now, it is also possible that as if I am talking in the classroom. At present, I am talking online, but it's only my two-dimensional image is getting. But there is also possible that in a coming days that I may be talking to you as if I am talking in front of you. So the augmented reality combines a physical world with the computer-generated virtual environments, while virtual reality basically creates a computer-generated simulation, which is alternative world of the reality. Okay, so these are the two important technologies where this is why this is important, because nowadays all these operations are being in the medical field. This virtual reality or augmented reality is becoming more and more important. Okay. Now, what are the indicative list? So I have just prepared some list, that is AI and a big data analysis. What are the concepts required, and what are the programming languages required, like a Python or Keras, TensorFlow, Hadoop, and there are many more. For cloud computing, the AWS, Azure, Microsoft Cloud, Google Cloud, IBM Cloud, Workday, Leonardo, Jenkins, and Docker. For IoT, edge computing, NFC, NB-IoT, Bluetooth, BLE, all these are basically indicative technology concepts and protocols, and indicative programming languages, something called as, which consist of basically hardware as well as the software, something called as a BeagleBone or a Light Blue or Bin or Linux OS or VX OS, or a variety of real-time operating systems, including the Raspberry Pi, all these things. Similar to this IoT, there is a blockchain technology and virtual reality technology, where a variety of programming languages, tools, and platforms are available, including the cyber security as well as robotic process automation, which is considered as a high volume repeated task, virtual system integration, automated report generation, and the things required for this is a Copax Giant, and there are other softwares available. Okay. Now, what certification will be required to understand all these things, and who will provide this certification? The certifications means this is not a complete list. This is a illustrative list, but in general, for all this cloud computing, robotic automation, process automation, cyber security, blockchain technology, for all this, basically a private vendors like Simply Learn is there, then IBM's AWS Azure is there, then Coursera is there, NanoDegree is there, Udacity is there, Udemy is there, and Edureka, variety of software firms nowadays available, and lot many other things are available. You can just search for this one, but you will get a specialized people in the every field. Okay, so the apart from all these private vendors, the NASSCOM has started one more platform called as a Future Skilling Prime online platform. All earlier discussed learning contents means right from starting of the artificial intelligence, machine learning, and means all these technologies, they have developed the courses, and their contents are matching with the industry standards, are being offered free of cost through this platform. These courses are expected to be amongst the most employable in the coming years, since most of the courses are currently available on a free access for a certain period. So I appeal, see, once again, all such courses, including IoT, blockchain technology, virtual reality, augmented reality, all these courses are nowadays available on the platform called as a Prime, the platform which is created by the NASSCOM. This is also, I mean, not only a NASSCOM has taken a lead, but there are many other collaborators, and they have created all these courses are available at present free of cost. So I will urge all of you that all of you should go through this these courses and try to acquire the future skills required, because near about 50% persons from the industries are also going to become obsolete. They are updating, and then it is essential that we have to update. All our teaching fraternity is supposed to be updated during next couple of years. Everyone has to understand whether he is from the mechanical or whether he is from the civil engineering. Everyone has to go through one or other course and update ourselves. So with this, I am concluding my lecture. As a concluding remark, what I want to summarize, we have to teach, or we have to learn how to learn new things. Apart from all these things, we have to teach, or we have to learn how to learn new things. We have to focus on how to improve, how to strengthen fundamentals. For upgrading, for upskilling, for getting the job, you don't require very big knowledge. You require your fundamentals supposed to be very clear. Okay, very introductory mathematics is required. 11, 12 mathematics is sufficient. Introductory mathematics and understanding of a few subjects are important. So we must strengthen our fundamentals. We have to work with networking with the peers. So message is work collaboratively. Nowadays, the days has gone to read alone. So instead of that, it is better that we should network with the peers. We should network continuously, because this is the days of networking, and we should network. We should not only for a normal discussion, but we should work collaboratively. We have to work on interdisciplinary topics. Instead of many times I have seen that people are talking, okay, there is a water tank compartments. This is civil engineering, this mechanical engineering, this is electrical, this is electronics. Why I should learn electronics, or why I should learn civil engineering? But in a future is basically coming as interdisciplinary topics. So we have to work on the interdisciplinary topics. Concept of lifelong learning is important. Teacher, we should not forget that teacher is always a student, and we should update on regular basis. And a very simple message I would like to give is that everyone should learn at least one computer programming. This computer programming skill is very important in nowadays. This is important because writing a computer program gives you understanding how to decompose a larger problem into smaller steps, then how to sequence all these steps, and how to get the solution. So these are few things from my side. The reference, I have taken a references from the report, just as I've told you, from the NASSCOM's Future Skilling for Digital Economy, which was published in February 2020. If anybody is interested, yes, I can forward this to all of you. So thank you very much for patient listening. And I expect that some of you should, if anybody has any discussion, yes, they can ask. If you are not interested in asking the questions, you can call me whenever you are free, and you can send me through the mails as well. So this is from my side. So mic is handed over. Once again, I am thank you for JSPM team. So it is mic is handed to the Archana madam.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Really, your session added much of knowledge about job opportunities in coming future and how we should be ready with all scaling factors to face challenges, how AI and RF are useful in manufacturing. So here I request all the participants, if anyone having any question, then raise your hand and unmute yourself. Hello.
Hello. Hello. I'm audible.
Yes.
Yes.
Let us start the session from my side itself, because I think people are not worried about the asking question. I have got one very general question in my mindset, being we are the technocrats and we are providing the engineers in the society. I find that we are talking all about the AI and machine learning. Everywhere, everybody is worried about the AI and machine learning and the robots. Then what is to be done with our product, what we are designing in the engineering colleges, where they should go then? Everybody is worried about the creating the robot. Then what the challenge and what the job opportunity will be there for our students? That is a very general question I have in my mind.
Okay.
So I would like to have a discussion on this.
Okay. Good question. This seems that he is very much careful, means he's worried about the entire teaching fraternity. But this is obvious.
Yeah.
Here I would like to share one thing. In 2018, I have attended one conference called as RSNA, Radiological Society of North America. In November 24 to 28, near about 6 days, I was at Chicago. You means all of you will not imagine what was the conference. Conference attendees were 35,000. Just imagine 35,000 people. Out of that 35,000, 20,000 were doctors and 15,000 were engineers. Now, another question you may ask, what kind of engineers were there? Engineers were from electronics, computer, IT, mechanical, electrical, chemical. And I have attended that conference. There were 14 parallel track, and there are near about 1,000 industry participants, 1,000 stalls. On every stall, near about 20 people from the industries across the globe. It is not only from the America. It was the I have met many people from the Asia, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Japan, Korea, and whatnot. Every European, all European. Now, what was the theme? The conference was basically RSNA, Radiological Society of North America. Then obvious question, what I was doing there and what I have seen there. I have seen everybody at every place. People were talking about artificial intelligence. You just go on any booth, there was discussion going on artificial, how artificial intelligence is useful in medical. Myself supervised near about 5-6 students on a medical imaging, and all are by using the artificial intelligence. And there was, on the first day, there was a lecture by a American scientist who was a doctor, who was who was basically a radiologist. Actually, she was a Indian origin, and she has given, she was a chairperson of that conference, and her topic was the same what has been asked by Professor Deshmane. And that was what will happen, means because the conference was majority from the medical means basically from the what you can say radiologist, and all radiologists were asking, if AI is emerging or if AI is penetrated in the radiology, where we will go, what will be the job opportunities. But that lady, director or chairman of the conference, he has told that, see Baba, nothing will happen to radiology. Only the way of doing the radiology will change. The way of thinking will be changing. Nowadays, what radiologist is doing, that they are basically taking, because they are half engineers. Radiologists are half engineers. They are associated with the machines. They're supposed to scan. They're supposed to take X-rays or the CT scan or a variety of scans they're supposed to do. All the equipments are electronics equipment. All the equipments are mechanical, electromechanical equipment. And doctors are learning all that one. They are reading the data from the human body. And finally, they are saying, is there any cancer is there or not? If the cancer is there, then that is cross-checked by taking the samples. And everywhere I have listened many lectures from the radiologist, that, and everywhere the discussion was, what will happen to the radiology? What will happen to the radiologist? Whether our jobs will go? No, the jobs will not go. Jobs will be there. Only the way of doing the job is little bit higher one. And same is applicable to you. The answer is, it is you say no one can take out your jobs. As a teacher, your job is there, but the way of doing the teaching will change.
Definitely.
So AI is important because of that. We have to change ourselves. We have to update ourselves. for artificial intelligence. Now, some people may ask also, sir, the AI is a area of computer science or electronics. I am from the mechanical engineering. I am from the civil engineering. I would like to tell here that I have listened many courses which are conducted by the mechanical engineers and civil people from the IITs. There when in 2019 I have visited Ohio State University, and that was about leadership. But there I have listened one lecture from the civil professor who was talking about artificial intelligence in agriculture, because he was a civil person. And in America, there are huge lands. The way of doing the farming is totally different. In America, the doing farming is, entire farming is a machinery based. So through the flights, they are taking the photographs and they are monitoring and they are doing the things. So the lecture I have attended by the civil professor on artificial intelligence, though I am from the basically from the electronics and computer background, and many more, the lecture was amazing. Their penetration was amazing. So the message for all of you is, don't worry. You have to, only the thing is that you have to update. We have to understand what is the state of technology. Yes, am I answered your question?
Yeah, sir. Yeah. Bit confident I got it.
Yes.
I have,
Okay, I
to,
want
you
to
have
ask,
to
sir.
update it, sir. Yeah.
Sir, Talwar sir.
Bola sir.
Sir. Just a question. You said that some 10% goes for reskilling, 44% go for 34%. Yeah, they go for upskilling. Okay, sir. Suppose in any industry or in any company, how that company or that industry decides that so many people should go for the upskilling and so many people go for the reskilling. Number one. And number two, what cadre of the peoples are selected for going upskilling and reskilling, sir? Simple.
Means, say that report, if you read, 74 CEOs are saying that we are today itself, we are obsolete.
Okay.
Its top cadre itself is obsolete. This is what is happening in academics also.
Okay.
This is what is happening in academics also. All our chairmen of board of studies and all our members of board of studies, they are not updating themselves. Means I will not say all, but majority.
Majority is there, yes.
I will not blame to each and everyone, but majority.
Majority.
So until and unless the people are updating, means top cadre, what is happening in even academics, as and when you become a PhD, as and when you acquire a PhD, you will become a professor, means immediately you will become a head, then you will become a principal, then you will be busy only in administrative jobs. Then who will go for the improvement of the technology? There are very few.
Yes.
Isn't it? So in industry also, they have rightly identified that 74% are CEO itself, they are not working. So basically, I do not know actually what is the size of the sample and all these things for which we have to go through the report, but the numbers are indicative. And the report is very, very scientific report. They have prepared, they might have taken a samples from the all categories, because that is a report of at the national level. It is not only national level, that is going through the global level. That will be referred at the global level. So definitely they might have taken a samples from the different cadres.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Yeah.
How can you relate, sir, machine learning and IoT together in future?
Okay, machine learning and IoT. See, For what purpose we are collecting? What is IoT? IoT is Internet of Things. Means we want to connect every device, isn't it? We want to connect every device. We want to collect the data for every data exchange, and we want to put it on the online on the website. Now, what is to be done with the data? Because if there are, for example, in a company like, for example, any kind of a larger company, if we consider, and there are 10,000 different places, if I place the sensors and data is collected, and that is placed on the, this is one part of the IoT. IoT is just connecting different devices, connecting a different sensors, collecting the data and putting it on the a central location. But the question arises, what to do with the data? Data supposed to be analyzed. Data means, what is a machine learning? What is a artificial intelligence? These are nothing but a study of algorithm for predicting future. So the data which is collected by the IoT, data which are collected through the sensors, supposed to be analyzed in a better fashion, quickly. So the prediction task supposed to be done by a variety of machine learning algorithms. There are variety of machine learning algorithms which may be useful. Some of them may be useful for the medical application. Some of the machine learning algorithm may be useful for the self-driving cars. Some of the machine learning algorithms may be useful for the predicting a share market. That there are the variety of applications, and every algorithm has its own features. All algorithms are, one algorithm may not be suitable for analysis of different kinds of the data. And that's why there is a relation, there is a close relation between the IoT and the machine learning. Yes, whether I have answered the question correctly.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. See, that's what I will appeal all the BOS members and chairmen, including Dr. Deshmani.
Yeah.
That think, say, we have to prepare the syllabus, but there is a linking nowadays. All these things are linked together. This cloud computing, whether you like or you don't like, people are saying, oh, this is a computer subject, this is a mechanical subject, why I should include in my syllabus? But after few years, these boundaries between the mechanical, electrical, civil will go. They will be merging. And nowadays, the days has come that we must learn whatever required. What is demanded by the industry, that has to be learned. If we want to sustain, if you want to remain in the, if you want to remain on the forefront, then we have to modify ourselves.
Definitely.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, anybody?
Hope everybody is
Okay.
satisfied.
Okay,
Yes.
fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm very much thankful today's eminent speaker, Dr. S.N. Talbar sir, for giving valuable guidance and knowledge about future skilling. I'm thankful to Dr. Ravi Joshi sir, who gives their valuable time and kind words. I'm very much thankful to Principal sir, Vice Principal sir, and all the faculties and research students who are attending today's session. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. And one more comment.